In just a few minutes, in just a little bit, each one of you is going to walk across this stage to receive your diploma. And I have enjoyed signing all 482 of them. It takes a while, and sometimes I forget how to do the 2 Ds in Biddy and have to do them over. But I really love this part of the ritual. I like to read each of your names. I like to say your name silently to myself. I'm taken by the beauty of the many languages, the many places, and the many cultures from which you arrived here, and by who you are as people. And going through one at a time gives me a chance to think about you. Your achievements and distinctions are far too numerous to list. Your greatest achievement, I'm sure, is the learning and growing you've done with one another of the kind that Amir has spoken of so beautifully. Among you, there are a significant number of national scholarship winners. Of the 16 Fulbrights won by Amherst students this year, 12 of you are walking today. You will be doing teaching and research in countries all over the world. Amherst was the only college or university in the United States to have 3 winners of the coveted Watson Fellowships. And the 3 of you who received those fellowships will travel widely and study the musical cultures of Muslim-majority communities, Tomal, women's experience of motherhood in situations of dislocation and statelessness, Jinjin, and masquerade performance in West Africa, Sheila. Among the things I most admire about you is the way you support one another. After senior assembly, a number of faculty members and administrators and staff commented on how loud your applause and also your shout-outs were as the senior assembly prizes were announced. You have done a very great deal to build community and build institutions here at Amherst. Again, far too much for me to mention. 2 of you, for a few examples, 2 of you established an organization for first-generation students, and you did it 4 years ago when you were first-year students, Sophie Delphus and Mika Stewart. Thank you. Kim Greenberg and Elizabeth White created the Association of Women in Science Mentoring Program. Sam Chen worked to ensure there was programming and space on campus for our military veterans. Thank you, Sam. La Causa's programming across the campus in the 5-college area has been greatly enhanced by the creativity of Irma Zamora. Jamie Sandel has created what Paul Gallegos calls one of the wonder pockets of talent across the campus. Another of those pockets, of course, is in dance, and I am thinking in particular of DASAC, Amherst Dance and Step Group, whose spectacular performances have just celebrated their 15th year at Amherst College. You have carried forward Amherst's longstanding commitment to writing and to the freedom to write and to express yourselves and to take issue, not just with the administration, sometimes also with one another. 2 of you started your own radio show on WAMH, Christine and Kristen. There's so many other things to mention, and you will have to forgive me for choosing only a few. Ultimate Frisbee, I'm very proud to say, is ranked 4th in the nation heading into this weekend's nationals. Last year's women's ultimate team made it to nationals. During your 4 years, Our athletics teams won 12 NESCAC titles and 3 national championships in men's soccer, men's tennis, and women's basketball. So many of you have worked so hard to change what needs to be changed at the college, and you've shown that it can ultimately bring people together rather than driving them apart. That work is not yet done, but you have contributed enormously to it. And while you've been doing that, the world has changed in very significant ways. And those changes in the world you enter are economic, technological, social, political, cultural, and they are only going to accelerate with automation driving the speed of change. Automation will increase efficiency and it will bring other gains, no doubt. It will also continue to displace human beings and change the nature of work. You who have been schooled in the liberal arts and in the arts of human friendship will be the ones to help create not only new jobs, but I think a new relationship to work itself. You've talked about that over and over while you've been here. Changing the relationship to work, finding moments of stillness, reflecting on what matters. What is the use of your liberal arts education in a world of such uncertainty and change? You know that people have wondered, literally for hundreds of years, whether the liberal arts will survive and whether they're useful or not. Now they're going to ask whether the liberal arts can survive automation. And the answer is a clear yes. Liberal arts education is the form of education best suited to uncertainty and change. Why? Because it fosters intellectual versatility and it teaches a range of approaches to solving problems. Its purpose has never been to prepare people for a specific job that may well disappear or for a career that could change dramatically. Its purpose is to promote freedom of thought and the disciplined and dogged pursuit of truth. Truth matters. No less visible, thank you. No less visible a businessman than Mark Cuban has added his name to the list of leaders who have embraced the liberal arts. Just 2 or 3 days ago, he said, "I personally think there's going to be a greater demand over the next 10 years for liberal arts majors," when asked about finance and programming. He added that automation will produce plenty of data, but can't in itself provide a different view of the data, different perspectives on it. Automation may empty out the human at one level, but it's going to require all of us on another. It will be important, says Mr. Cuban, to have freer thinkers than those trained for specific jobs. And among the majors he cites as being desirable in the next 10 years, English and philosophy. And also the sciences, the social sciences, the computer sciences. But as an English major, I felt I had to point out those two. Listen, the creativity he has in mind that he thinks the world of work needs and that the world in general needs is not based in particular majors or disciplines. It's in the liberal arts taken as a whole and in the learning that occurs when human beings from different backgrounds with different perspectives come together face to face and learn from each other. As it happens, this is an experience and a set of skills, listening, coming together, being face to face with one another, that is sorely lacking in our democracy right now. The kinds of exchanges to which you aspire, to which we've aspired here and tried to practice, we don't always practice with perfect success, but they can be a model for public discourse. And so residential liberal arts education has not only economic or even indicatively economic benefits, It has political and ethical ones. The seniors that have spoken on your behalves, Amir today, Tess and Rihanna at Senior Assembly, have all given moving testimony to the importance of our presence to one another and to friendship. Friendship seems to be the theme for you. In your wonderfully humorous ways, you've reminded us of the faculty's high expectations and their scolding, but also of their intense engagement with you and their devotion to you, their friendship. You've all celebrated your relationships with one another as the thing that got you through, not just your academic work, but some of the more difficult experiences that any one of us can have in our lives. It's not possible, actually, to automate those relationships or the values that you exemplify and describe. Friendship flows from the kinds of humanity that education is meant to foster, and its value is incalculable, completely inefficient, and absolutely essential to individual flourishing and the health of communities. But in order for friendship to operate fully and fruitfully in the public sphere and not just in the private sphere, we have to broaden what we mean by that term. It can't just be about seeking comfort or about gravitating toward those who are familiar to us or with whom we already agree. It has to encompass relationships of respect, understanding, and even affection between people who differ, and working together in good faith across those differences toward solutions to the complex problems we face is what we must all redouble our efforts to do. This is a harder form of friendship. It can also be the most rewarding. It's certainly the most necessary right now. The philosopher Hannah Arendt urges us to understand the political importance of friendship. The world we have in common, the public world in common, unlike private friendships, she says, and I quote, remains inhuman in a very literal sense unless it is constantly talked about by human beings. And here's a quote I offered to you on the night after the election. The world is not humane just because it is made by human beings, and it does not become humane just because the human voice sounds in it, but only when it has become the object of discourse, and I would add, of honest disagreement. The significance of her point is apparent today in a world of serial monologues, talking heads repeating themselves over and over, and hate-filled rants, a world that is short on talk of partnership for the public good. Our studies in history and philosophy, in literature and politics, in every discipline, have shown that there can be no true civic life, there can be no true public life, and no democracy without friendship in this sense. Many of you have worked hard to ensure that Amherst lives up to its value on friendship as an ideal. The uprising has had many positive effects and many lasting ones, among them a lesson in the importance of listening. It also had the effect of showing how dependent we are on each other to help see what we otherwise simply cannot see or won't see, to understand what we don't yet understand, to appreciate which we have not yet learned to appreciate. Friendship allows us to correct one another without giving offense when it's real friendship. Friends give one another the benefit of the doubt, and we can all learn to be more forgiving. Friendship also observes limits. It doesn't allow us to do or say just anything we want. We know about our friends what might be helpful and what would cause pain. And that knowledge and the use of discretion make it possible to help one another grow, improve, and love. And discretion, not so highly valued these days, is a key to democracy. Friendship requires listening, taking genuine interest, making time, being with one another, simply being with one another when it's hard. It means being open to disagreement, being eager to repair rifts when they occur. We do this with each other every day, everywhere on this campus. In conversation, and genuine learning is structured to a very great degree in face-to-face conversation. It is structured here, and it is important that we make conversation a laboratory in democratic give and take. I believe in the promise of residential liberal arts education because I know on a private level that friendship makes our lives worth living, but also because we see that the absence of friendship as a public good, the full engagement of human beings with one another in the public sphere, in all our diversity, we see that this absence threatens the principles that support democracy. A community that does not know how to practice the arts of friendship, that believes it has nothing in common but division and nothing to gain from conversation, is not community, and it probably can't be a country either. Rigid divisions and the license to demean and dehumanize people on the so-called other side can eradicate our grounding principles, our sense of shared purpose, our hope of collaboration, and our faith. We need to practice forms of friendship that match the complexity of the world and can address its complex problems. And so it matters that all of you use your heads and your hearts to find a basis for genuine connection, not only with those with whom you're familiar and with whom you agree, but with those who differ. One of today's honorees, William Cronin, has argued that liberal education aspires to nurture the growth of human talent in the service of human freedom. And in his essay entitled "Only Connect: The Goals of Liberal Education," he gives substance to that definition by listing the 10 qualities he most admires in the people who exemplify the values of liberal arts education. I'll give you the first 3 qualities he most admires in people who exemplify those values. The first one is they listen and they hear. It's as simple as that. The second one is they read and they understand. The third one is they can talk with anyone. And it has never been more important that we be able to talk with anyone. I think it's worth declaring, he says, that educated people know how to pay attention to others and to the world around them. They can follow an argument, track logical reasoning, detect illogic, hear the emotions that lie behind the logic and the illogic, and ultimately empathize with the person who is feeling those emotions. All these capacities are indispensable for informed and engaged citizenship. They are far too little in evidence today. The 10th of the 10 qualities Cronin lists as those he most admires are the power and the wisdom to connect. And he argues, freedom serves the purpose of connection as much as connection serves the purpose of freedom. Finally, in an argument that seems more controversial today than it did in 1998 when he published his essay, he suggests that liberty is not about thinking or saying or doing whatever we want. It is about exercising our freedom in such a way as to make a difference in the world and make a difference for more than just ourselves. Liberal education, he concludes, is the foundation that allows us to grow beyond ourselves and do this good work. We celebrate you today, your love of learning, your cultivation of friendship, and all that you've contributed to Amherst College. I thank you for those contributions. I hope you'll continue to make your voices heard, that you'll elevate the kinds of conversations you have with one another onto a more public stage, and that the friendships you've made here will sustain you after you leave today. I beg of you, do not yield to hopelessness or despair. The fact that we cannot take for granted the things that we would all probably like to be able to assume, the fact that we are seeing the fragility of human bonds, of democratic processes, and of the earth itself, has to be seen as an opportunity for people like you to provide the change that will help us through. I end, as I always do, with a really short poem by the American poet A.R. Ammons. It's called Salute. May happiness pursue you, catch you often, and should it lose you, be waiting ahead, making a clearing for you. Congratulations, and thank you very much.